Sir Jamaican Tide Pod's Adventure. By Chazcam, Nathan A., and Nathan Q. Once upon a time there was a spontaneously spinning Mexican turtle named Sir Jamaican Tide Pod. He went on to a marvelous adventure into the urban areas of India, only to realize he had forgotten his most prized possession back at Mexico, his deodorant. Sir Jamaican Tide Pod took a jetpack out of his infinite bag. Then it exploded in his face. He was blown into the sea, where he befriended a clownfish, before swimming back to shore. He decided to ask his Indian friend Mrs. to travel back home with him, when he realized, once more, he forgot his deodorant. Again, he has short-term memory loss. While contemplating his life choices, he decides to hijack a spacecraft and fly it back to Mexico. Mrs., his wife Mrs. Jr., and his son, Junior Mr., had never been in a spacecraft before, so they were exhilarated to go. That spacecraft had 43 children inside. He took his mystical, magical, and cryptic maracas and hypnotized the children to fly the spacecraft. However, they forgot that they stole the spacecraft, so the government nuked the spacecraft. They all fell into the ocean, and when they thought all hope was lost, the clownfish from earlier came back, grew buff arms and a handlebar mustache, picked them up, and started carrying them back. The nuke's radiation turned some fish into evil fish skeletons, so the clownfish sacrificed himself. He did this by spontaneously combusting, killing all the fish, and launching his allies back to Mexico. Back in Mexico, Sir Jamaican Tide Pod and his friends realized it was Christmasmas, so Santa came and gave them a bazooka. With the bazooka, the friends traveled to Mrs. secret giant robot. In the robot they added the bazooka, so it was now perfect. They went to the White House, they aimed the bazooka and gave everybody cupcakes. And then blew them all up, but that is not as important. They went to the sun, where they harvested a large amount of energy, and using this energy, they blew up Jupiter. This was Mrs.'s lifelong dream, so he was happy. Now that he was happy, they did not need him, so they threw him into a black hole. This was Mrs. Jr.'s lifelong dream, throwing her husband into a black hole. So then they threw her into a black hole. This was Mr. Jr.'s lifelong dream, throwing his mother into a black hole, so they threw him into a black hole. Sir Jamaican Tide Pod then ate the robot, and became very fat. He used this fat to create a wormhole to the Andromeda Galaxy, where he sneezed on it, causing it to explode. He then took Justin Bieber hostage, and forced him to give him the secrets for his amazing musical talent. He then ate him, and threw up everything he ate. The horrid mixture that he threw up was all blended together, and seeking revenge. It took on the form of Kanye West, before poking the Earth and exploding it. He also ate the rest of the solar system. Now as an even match, they fought. Their battle shook the universe, every strike destroying thousands of galaxies. After a 10-hour-long fight, Kanye West struck Sir Jamaican Tide Pod with a fatal blow, and absorbed his corpse and the entire universe, and was ready to eat more. Now reunited, Sir Jamaican Tide Pod, Junior Mr., Mrs., Jr., Clownfish, Justin Bieber, and the U.S. government started a rebellion against Kanye West. They stuck a camera out his stomach, and saw the outside world. Kanye West had already destroyed 456,789 universes. Filled with anger, Justin Bieber cloned himself, and Justin Bieber number 2 crawled up into Kanye West's skull, and exploded his brain with the magical musical power of friendship. After absorbing Kanye West's body, the friends built a house together and restored the chaos that he had caused. The grateful people now ruled Sir J. as the true king of the multiverse for his heroic actions. They gave him amazing gifts, such as the universe, eternal happiness, a true family, half of a cheesecake, and nigh omnipotence. The true family reminded Sir J. of his traumatic past. His father, a man who ingested a Tide Pod, and his mother, a Jamaican turtle. These two had him in Mexico, where they abandoned him a year later. For the next 20 years up until his adventure, Sir J. was raised by Justin Bieber's grandmother's old pet hyenas. That is who they are, and their name, He then realized he had never even gotten his deodorant. He paraglided down to his other house back on Earth, snacking on minced baby left arms on the way. He opened the secret trapdoor in his toilet door, put in the code 1337, and the bunker in Lady Gaga's backyard opened. He teleported there and closed the door, before traveling through the space vortex and teleporting his friends to him. Beyond the vortex was the realm known as Deodorant, a pocket dimension where all laws of the universe fail, every concept is changed, and there is complete anarchy. Due to the realm's incomprehensible nature, the following descriptions of the realm will be explained as close to the original as possible, while actually being comprehensible. Upon entering the dimension, two Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson trolls leapt at them, shooting the crew with magical Lucky Charms, part of a balanced breakfast. The crew disemboweled them with unicorn horns, and blew up their eyes. They then parkoured across the islands in the red void to the castle, where they fought a dragon. The dragon farted out sentient attacking glitter, causing disarray in the group, before smacking them with its tail. Realizing the danger, the crew combined into one being, Sir J+. They killed the dragon by shooting out Joseph Stalin-themed birthday party decor into its spleen. After slaying the dragon, they entered the castle before having to fight the three-headed Hydra of knowledge protecting deodorant, with its three heads being Nicolas Cage, Bill Nye, and Mr. Rogers. Nicolas Cage attempted to shoot out his army of garden gnomes into Sir J+'s mouth, but after doing this he had his skin torn off and organs turned into jelly beans, while being burnt, all while alive. Meanwhile, Bill Nye used his ultimate attack, using the power of science and Despicable Me 3 to unravel the fabric of reality. Sir J+ watched in horror as he saw every timeline and scenario flashing before his eyes, starting and ending, then starting again and repeating. Every sense of logic and order then faded, as indescribable things happened. Bob the Builder then fixed the space-time continuum, so Sir J+ ripped out Bill Nye's windpipe and gouged out his eyes and fingernails, while force-feeding him a whole brick and cutting off his shoulders. Mr. Rogers then proceeded to have a bathroom accident, so he was excused to leave as Sir J+ entered the throne room of his deodorant. His eyes met the unholy deity of all time and space, his deodorant. He saw the 5,000-foot-wide ball of flesh, eyes, teeth, and tongues yell out into the distance, bursting Sir J+'s eardrums. He repaired himself, before bowing down to his deodorant and asking if he could take him. The truly omnipotent being agreed, that turned himself into the size of a pebble before entering the hat of Sir J+. Sir J+ then left the dimension, but felt a burning sensation. As it turns out, the army of garden gnomes from earlier work at a different expanse of time than everyone else, so in their perspective it had been 12 years. They were mining at Sir J+ from all over his body, and eventually he was completely eaten by the gnomes. The gnomes cheered, but they did not notice that an eagle with the head of Dan TDM had swept down and ate them all. The eagle then flew to the grave of Thomas Edison and resurrected him. The eagle then perched on top of Thomas Edison's head and turned into a liquid. The liquid flowed in Thomas Edison's veins, fusing the two of them together. Thomas Edison sought to finish what he started in his lifetime, destroying mankind and successfully baking an apple pie. The eagle assisted him with this, as the souls of every member of Sir J+ drifted up to heaven, and as they entered the gates, as it would turn out they, rather unsurprisingly, barreled down into the fiery underworld. They then met up with Gandhi, who used the power of chalky milk to turn the members of Sir J+ into 1 ounce of goop, which he used a blow dart to send up into the grave of Nikola Tesla, fusing with him in the same way that the eagle fused with Thomas Edison. Nikola Tesla used 0.00000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000 more zeros 0.00000000000000000000001% of his power and instantly turned Thomas Edison eagle inside out, before atomically dissolving him and freeing the member of Sir J+, now back in their own bodies, and joining their team. The crew then, using the rest of their necromancy powers, resurrected Beethoven, Charlemagne, every pope since 1209, Genghis Khan, Ronald Reagan, Bob Ross, MLK, Gandhi, for saving them, Stephen Hawking, Franz Ferdinand, and Rasputin. They melted down all of their bodies and put them into the mold of a coffee mug with a face. This coffee mug, referred to as the hive mind, and all of its experiences from the consciousnesses inside of it, joined the crew and was even functional as a coffee mug. The group then went on a sailing trip to the Indian Ocean, where they found the remains of the spaceship. Out came the bodies of the 43 children, who had mutated. They revealed that they were child laborers who were being forced to be in the spaceship by Angela Merkel. The 43 children then went to their secret underwater lab, where they were working on a cloning machine. The coffee mug used its knowledge to finish the machine and clone the children into an army of 5 million super soldiers. They all had wings, laser eyes, could lift up to 46 tons, were 700 miles per hour, had immense skill, extreme durability, and an IQ of 500. With this army, they raided Germany, and when NATO came to Germany's 8, a third team was created with the enemies of NATO, and some of NATO's allies joined NATO's team, erupting the three-team WW3, NATO and allies vs the main crew versus NATO enemies. The main crew sent out the army of 5 million, with the original 43 as generals. NATO enemies were quickly obliterated, but they nuked the other two teams. Everybody on Earth died except for the main crew. About 2/3 of their army was killed, no generals were killed, so they cloned another 700 million super soldiers. All 702 million soldiers then combined into an ultra soldier. With Earth destroyed, the crew all went to an alternate universe. They were confused to see everybody on Earth there also dead, as they saw a 1 million foot tall lion with a crown, laser eyes and mouth, and the face of Adam Sandler. His deodorant then obliterated Adam Sandler, and absorbed his energy. They traveled in the multiverse, and absorbed every one of the infinite amount of universes. They then realized that there were infinite multiverses in the metaverse, and that there was more after that, so they gave up with that goal. They were then hired at their metaverse's local multiversal McDonald's by the higher-ups of the Sophovers, being paid the minimum wage of 14 an Ian. After a few weeks of being paid that low, they revolted, by turning into a monster truck ridden by Sir J. They demolished the building, and went to Galactic Jeff Bezos. They then turned him into a marketable plushie, and ripped the plushie into
47689278794578927163467872067 to the power of 45678908643 pieces.
They then turned a universe into a spinning rat GIF, before entering another after making themselves smaller. Upon entering this universe, 14.5 feral Squidwards attacked them, and they noticed something horrifying. His deodorant decided that he had had enough, and so blew up the entire universe, including the crew, in an intense moment of pure evil and betrayal. Realizing the true intentions of his deodorant, Galactic Jeff Bezos 2.0, the sequel decided to revive the crew and keep them in his pocket dimension. He made it clear to them that he would help, but he then absorbed all of their powers, claiming it was for the best. Meanwhile, his deodorant went on a rampage, destroying 3456898987 multiverses and absorbing their power, increasing his own exponentially. GFB2, TS then absorbed 10 billion multiverses, and from there they continuously gained more and more power, absorbing every multiverse they found. GFB2, TS also regenerated the crew's original universe, and that's what the pocket universe the crew is in was. In this pocket universe, they still did not have any powers. Then, Mrs. would immediately be arrested for 14 years of tax fraud for $70,000 and 10 years in prison. The crew would now have to break him out, so they slipped through the prison's air vents. A police officer would find them, but was actually okay with them and even offered to join them. As he hugged Sir J would stab him in the abdomen 167 times, before decimating him with an on-the-go Gatling gun. This would trigger the alarms, as the prison guard all came out, and beat up the crew. The clownfish, now having mastered his spontaneous combustion ability, would spontaneously combust, killing all the guards, but not him. Mr. Mrs. cell was broken from the blast, so they entered. They found that the explosion was too strong, so they found Mr. Mrs. disintegrated remains. Unsure of what to do, they took him and made Justin Bieber clone himself once more. They would then turn Mr. Mrs. into a liquid, and put him in the bloodstream of Justin Bieber 3. Justin Bieber 3 and Mr. Mrs. would now have to share a body, renamed to Justin Mr. Mrs. Bieber III, or Mr. Justin for short. Out of the blue, Justin Bieber's grandmother's old pet hyenas came back to Mr. J and joined the team. Sir J then decided to find his real parents. After a quick Google search, they found and flew to their retirement home in São Tomé and Príncipe. Upon confronting them, it was realized that they were mannequins. Suddenly, a Venezuelan SWAT team would appear, and the crew realized it was a trap. Leading them would be the now absolutely shredded parents of Sir J, who were actually the heads of the Venezuelan government. They hit the crew with blow darts, and they fell asleep. After they awoke, the crew would find themselves dumped in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, heavily weak and tired. They built a house and ate bugs for food, before signaling SOS. The police came, and just as they were happy, they were instantly arrested for the seemingly never-ending list of crimes committed in this universe from before. But, they were mysteriously bailed out by Sir J's parents. Sir J's parents would explain that they wanted to test the crew, so they went down in an elevator in the middle of nowhere. They entered their secret lab with the crew, and then pushed the crew into a room, before going down the hall next to the room. The room lit up, revealing a long obstacle course above lava, with several dangers such as swinging axes, spikes, the lava, and much more. They would have to make all of the jumps and dodge the dangers, or else they would die. They saw Sir J's parents at the end of the hall. They realized that they could just stay put, but then the wall behind them started to push them forwards, forcing them to complete the course. They made the first jump successfully, but an axe hit Justin Bieber off into the lava. They completed the rest of the obstacle course without difficulty and picked up Bieber's corpse as Sir J's parents revealed themselves to be under the control of his deodorant, and then were absorbed by his deodorant. Back in the science lab, Bieber was revived. But in the science lab, they would find that they had been running a simulation of Earth. In this simulation, long ago in ancient Egypt 4,000 years ago bandits destroyed the Great Sphinx's nose. The Great Sphinx was not amused with these dirty and filthy peasants, so it set a curse upon them. 1 hour later, the bandits suddenly died. Now the Great Sphinx was appeased, almost. Another hour later the bandits' remains suddenly disappeared. Much later their remains were found wrapped up in a tomb thrown by an unknown person suspected to be the Great Sphinx in the Nile River. After this little incident, nobody has ever messed with the Great Sphinx ever again, what the Great Sphinx thought. For you see the bandits' ghosts, with an army declared war upon all living Egyptians and the Great Sphinx. Everybody across the globe was shocked and the Sphinx was confused and terrified. After releasing this, the pharaoh fought hard against the ghost army, but soon the pyramids were annihilated and the Great Sphinx was breaking down. Soon after they surrendered, but over 300,000 Egyptians had passed in the war and the pharaoh was executed, leaving the ghosts in charge. The Egyptians wanted revenge, which triggered a revolution. Months later, the war was over in the rebels' favor. Now with an improved military they declared war. Then halfway through the Sphinx broke a promise and went into physical form. The ghosts were defeated after 30 years of battling. Then with this the power of the Sphinx's physical form, the newly formed Greater Egyptian Empire had conquered all of the continent of Africa. They went to Arabia and conquered it, taking out the Babylonians, Turks, Greeks and Persians in the process. Adding more to their power, they made an alliance with the Mongols. The ghosts were enraged. But the ghost's abilities to come back to life were lost because of the Great Egyptian Ghost War. Back in Egypt, the Sphinx's physical form was unstoppable. The Egyptians treated him like royalty, and the pharaoh treated him like another ruler. Eventually, the Sphinx got tired and went back to a statue. The Egyptian Empire was a world power and everyone but the Mongols were frightened. The pyramids were repaired. They became so strong that they escaped colonization by the British Empire. Fought in both World War I and World War II and were a massive help to the Allies and Entente. In 2009, they joined the alliance of NATO. They also remained a world superpower from way back then. Ever since 2000 BC, the Great Egyptian Empire remained one of, if not the most powerful nations on Earth. Their land borders stretched from modern-day Pakistan in the east, the Gambia in the west, South Africa in the south, Bulgaria in the north, and not to mention tiny islands, disputed territories and colonies. It has the second biggest military just below the United States of America, and coming far above the Russian Federation, making it an extremely powerful force to mess with. So the point is, the Greater Egyptian Empire is a very powerful empire and the only empire that exists today. It has existed for 4,000 years. But then a rebellion came known as the South African War for Independence. The rebellion had nukes, but they never used them, so after 2.7 years of fighting the rebellion was put down. But Egypt had been greatly weakened after the war and Russia declared war, which NATO and Russia's allies to fight along with many more countries starting World War III. North Korea was killed instantly, but China and Russia were a different story. By that they capitulated from being attacked from all sides and getting St. Petersburg, Moscow, Beijing, and Shanghai nuked. The peace deal gave the Great Egyptian Empire land in North Korea and China, and they got $400 billion USD. After World War III ended, the Great Egyptian Empire had the second biggest economy and military, both behind the United States of America. It was the Great Sphinxes 4366487436566743655485212345678910111121317567255566755464645 birthday, so they celebrated by landing of man on the Erisdorf planet. When they did it, the closest any other place had gotten to Eris was the planet Mars, achieved by the United States of America. But the Sphinx was flying in human form to get the man to Eris. So do not mess with the Great Sphinx, the most powerful being in the 686677544444653677767637856726483798526879666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666So when the largest empire in history, the Great Egyptian Order, joined forces with Austria to reform the Austro-Hungarian Empire by hunger annihilating Romania, Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Ukraine, and Poland. Then Austria killed the rest of the territories. They did the same thing with Japan to the Japanese Empire, Turkey to the Ottoman Empire, Lithuania to Lithuania, Mongolia to the Mongol Empire, Sweden to the Swedish Empire, and Germany to the German Empire. Then they formed a new alliance called the New Western Empires. Years then passed when suddenly the Egyptian Empire and its allies expanded. So they controlled a lot of territory, which gave them power. Then humanity was so advanced, every region of a country owned an entire galaxy. Now was time for the ultimate war, which of course shall be WW4. The countries involved in this war were the Great Egyptian Empire, the USA, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Mongol Empire, the Swedish Empire, Lithuania, the Ottoman Empire, the Japanese Empire, Britain, the rest of NATO, France, and the German Empire on one side, and Russia, China, North Korea, Kazakhstan, Belarus and Italy on the other. Rome was quickly seized and Italy capitulated, and the same events happened with Belarus. Kazakhstan stole nuclear bombs from Russia, but they failed and blew up Kazakhstan's capital city, which made Kazakhstan capitulate. Russia and China had to get revenge, so they attempted to nuke the Great Egyptian Empire, which failed and hit the Indian Ocean. Even so, it missed. The great Egyptian empire was furious and blew the other countries they were fighting against to tiny little bloody shreds of skin, organs, and bones. The great WW4 that 370 million fell to was finally over. In the peace treaty, the great Egyptian empire gained Sicily, all of North Korea, land in China and Russia, and $200 billion USD. But after WW4, life in the great Egyptian empire was extremely rough. The country was poverty-stricken and life felt like it was at the ages of the pyramids of Giza being built, even though it was the most advanced it had been in all its history, and the murder rate was growing very quickly. The Great Revolution of 2034 was going to begin, which was the hardest time of all of Egypt's history, from the Upper and Lower Egypts, to Cleopatra, to the World Wars, to what is happening now. THEEGYPIANSWEREANNIHILATED. The rest of the world was annihilated later, but then it collapsed. The world was sent back to its borders, before the rebellion. Egypt quickly invaded, united, and bought the Eastern Hemisphere, and the rest was split between the USA, Canada, Mexico, and Brazil. Years later, the Egyptian Empire had rebellions and only held on to northern Africa. Then South Africa came along and fought the Egyptians. It was definitely close, but Egypt won. Now Egypt controlled the majority of Africa, besides the southern tip. There was also once a small clover on a distant planet. You might think this plant had 2, 3, or maybe even 4 leaves, but no, it had about 30 leaves and gives an infinite amount of luck to whoever is holding it. There is only one of these in the entire universe. One day, thousands of years from now, in a very futuristic place in 8492, a mission to the edge of the universe was planned to happen tomorrow with 3 astronauts and a robot with a camera. This was the fastest and nicest spaceship ever created, even faster than the speed of light. But it still took about 7 months to get as far as they could, and they had to enter the backup ship, which was much, much smaller, but that meant it would need barely any fuel to go trillions of miles. This went about a little over 18 times faster than the main rocket ship, much faster than light, and then it went for about 9 months, and they finally reached their destination. The universe's edge. It looked like a big impassable glass wall that looked into an abyss with a few dots, other universes. The astronauts quickly wrote it down and the robot saved it. But then an asteroid struck and destroyed the ship. They were stranded. The robot sent a message back, but it would take more than a whole year to reach Earth. They luckily landed on a somewhat habitable and luscious planet where they found the mysterious clover from the start. They thought it must have been some strange plant on this planet, and they thought nothing of it. A few days after the crash, they went back to it as their last chance of any hope of their survival. One of the astronauts picked it up, and in less than a blink of an eye, pieces of a rocket started falling down in just the right place to form it. In just a minute or two, it formed the most powerful rocket ship imaginable. Hundreds of times the speed of light, infinite fuel, and strong enough to get through the universe's edge and into other universes. Most of all, it was the size of a very large modern mansion. They climbed aboard and went back to Earth in just a day, and then the Astronaut shared the stories, and the camera, which took hundreds of pictures a millisecond and had infinite storage, and robots very large storage. The astronauts showed the plant to the president, and he showed it to the human civilization's most skilled and smart scientists. They extracted the very luck out of it and put it in a clone machine. But something went wrong, and the clone machine started to get bigger, and the door almost popped off from the machine. All but one scientist evacuated the lab, and the remaining scientist got trapped because the door got jammed and the cloning machine burst open with pure luck. Eventually, it was all contained, but the remaining scientist accidentally drank about 180 leaves, clovers worth of luck. Nobody knew what would happen to him, since he went unconscious. He woke up, but something strange happened to his body. He was incredibly large and could fly. Then he realized that he had turned into an all-powerful god. He then used his power to help humanity so much, by making them all gods, they never had to worry about any problems ever again. Well, besides for the threat of the scientist removing the powers, but he never did. After the extremely successful mission, Egypt colonized hundreds of thousands of universes fully. officially advancing Earth to a Type 7 civilization. This simulation would then be taken into the real world by the crew, where they combined everything from the simulation into one being, the Hyper Sphinx, who would join them. They escaped and blew up the lab, and did the Macarena on top of the crater, before the ghost of Warren Harding attacked them, but he was turned into dust as the crew figured out that they were in the Solomon Islands, so they flew back all the way to Mexico. As they were doing this, GJB2-TS would take them out of the pocket universe, and combine with Sir J. He then absorbed another 9999, 999, 9999 multiverse, the rest of the crew, and the pocket universe. He explained that he was ready to fight his deodorant, so he combined everything they had into one being, Sir J++, who was now ready to fight. He reached his deodorant, and realized that his deodorant was still far too strong. But then, something strange happened. He was suddenly teleported to an office. He was greeted by Ryan Reynolds, who then had his body fold in on itself. He then saw the higher-ups of everything, who knew about his war against his deodorant. Because of this, they gave him a fraction of their power to help. They then forcefully hired him, and sent him back down throughout the multiverse. He, however, got sent of course, and landed in a faraway universe from where his deodorant was. He saw a strange black paper-like plant in the universe. Then, it looked behind at Sir J++, revealing it was not a plant. It then screamed its name, Jonald, before smiling with an insane look and pushing out a realistic arm with a weapon, and shooting. It bounced off of Sir J++, who then sent Jonald flying all the way from Mexico to Massachusetts. He then saw a man who introduced himself as Australian Batman, flying through the sky. He then sang his theme song, Australian Batman, flying through the sky, Australian Batman, gonna make you die, Australian Batman, he makes babies cry, Australian Batman, he has never told a lie. This confused Sir J++, so he left the universe. Johnny Johnny yes papaya is what Sir J++ screamed into the metaverse, looking for his deodorant. He decided to take a nap at his house in the multiverse, so he did. He awoke with a Sharpie mustache drawn on his face, most likely a prank from the funny clown man in the vents. That man sure is a goober. But wait, there were no Sharpies in his house. That's when he noticed his old friend, Jimbo Radical, had come to visit and pranked him. That goon. To get back at OL Jimbo, he forced Jimbo to watch as he set his house with everything inside it on fire, kidnapped his family, and then stole 14 of his internal organs. He then put Jimbo Radical into a hydraulic press, where he was smushed. He threw him into a cardboard box, with a TV that only displayed Cocomelon and Total Drama action. He then drop-kicked this box into a volcano, and wondered what silly adventures awaited Jimbo as he drifted to sleep in his house once more, after washing off his mustache. He woke up and listened to his favorite quote, Okwokwe, Sun Tzu, The Art of War. He did his morning routine, doing the Macarena for 2 hours, brushing his teeth, by swallowing a tube of toothpaste, with tube, and then drinking orange juice, with a side of chicken. He ate his breakfast, a 48-pound of his favorite fast food, Kentucky Fried Monkeys. He then decided to look for his deodorant, which he applied to his body. After showering in melted cheese with chips and getting dressed up in a tuxedo, Fortnite pajama bottoms, and his favorite Gordon Ramsay slippers, who of course screamed at the taste of his feet after he put them on. This screaming would continue every day until he read them a bedtime story and gave them warm anchovy paste, which he did. He then set off to find his deodorant, the one with capital letters this time. He searched for hours, but couldn't find him. He then used a last-ditch effort, by going into a strange universe he had heard of before. He had always been too scared to go in this universe, but with his new immense power, he decided to enter. After 20 minutes, he found the universe and entered it. In this universe, OL Barney the dinosaur was hopping around Area 51 like a big playground when suddenly Manch bursted from the shade and hit Barney with a cast-foam raid. Barney got mad and began to attack, but didn't expect to have Dogman give him a whack. He proceeded to stomp on Barney's head, but then D.K. Jr. came back when everyone thought he was dead. He began to punch Dogman's face, but then Manch's cast form made rain come from outer space. Before Manch's cast form could make it back to his pokeball, every Animaniacs character popped from their graves, yes, all of them. They all grabbed weapons out of nowhere, and Manch and his cast form didn't have their pain shared, but then their weapons all broke and they ran away because the Ender Dragon came to save the day. This is the Ultra Showdown, the weirdest in history, good guys, bad guys, and explosions as far as the eye can see. Who will win? I wonder who it will be. This is the Ultra Showdown, the weirdest in history. Barney took a bite out of the Ender Dragon and Squidward was annoying Manch Sceptile by nagging. Dogman came back all wet and he was upset. Then Caillou and his dad and his pet tried to kill Dogman with frying pans. Manch was tired and trying to get steady, but then the Animaniacs characters came back and said we're going to kill ye, but then something grabbed their weapons and they tripped. Henry Stickmin had to kick. He saw Barney sneaking up from behind, he reached for his teleporter, which he just couldn't find. Manch stole it, and he threw it and he missed, because Caillou deflected it with his fist. He jumped in the air, while saying oh boy, while the Animaniacs characters came back to destroy. They all collided in the air and got hit by Ness's and Luigi's death stares. This is the Ultra Showdown, the weirdest in history, good guys, bad guys, and explosions as far as the eye can see. Who will win? I wonder who it will be. This is the Ultra Showdown, the weirdest in history. Angels sang out in a terrible chorus, down from the heavens descended Boris, who delivered a wombo combo which could get him a win, into the body of Henry Stickmin, who fell over on the ground writhing in pain, while Manch switched into his Zebstrika named Kane. But Boris started to rage and put Manch into a cage. Then Simpsons the good and Simpsons the bad, and sadness from inside out looking real sad. Flamingo Dantum, even Captain Hook, Cinderace and Little Mac, every single Magic Treehouse book. Red, who was SUS, and Miss Frizzle in the Magic School Bus. Brock, Doc, Olings of the Oct, Bach and a Croc came out of nowhere, super speedy, and crunched Boris like a Butterfinger BB. The fight went on for 5 straight days. Many lives were claimed, but eventually all but the losers were in heaven, and the winners were the Yellow Trio, Bob Stewart and Kevin. This is the Ultra Showdown, the weirdest in history, good guys, bad guys, and explosions as far as the eye can see. Who will win? I wonder who it will be. This is the Ultra Showdown, this is the Ultra Showdown, this is the Ultra Showdown, the weirdest in history. Sir J++ then blew everything up and absorbed it, putting an end to the madness. He did not kill, however, the winning trio, and instead combined the 3 of them into the Minnininin, who joined the crew and became a part of Sir J++. Sir J++ realized that they must assemble a final team to destroy his deodorant once and for all. So they decided to find a few more major recruits for the team, official named as the Legion of. The hive mind then split apart, going from a mess of consciousnesses controlling one body to a proper team, led by Sir Jamacian Tide Pod. Searching for more team members, they searched far and wide across the multiverse, with no luck. That is, until they found one universe where a very short scientist hated being short, so he made a potion to fix it. Then he drank a drop and became 300k feet tall. He took a few drops home and his dog got to them. The dog became so big he blew up all of Boston and ate the scientist who was running for his life. Inside his stomach, he survived the dog's teeth and stomach acids, and a few hours later, he joined a ruined and now stinky, mushy and brown Boston. He ran for a year straight and the dog licked him. The drops went on the ground of the dog's tongue, then he ate them again and went to the dog park and played with normal-sized dogs, and chased after the scientist again and then ate him, and he went straight down into his stomach acids, and died a horrible brutal death. Until he woke up with his tiny baby chihuahua sleeping on his lap. He was going to make the potion in real life, but for obvious reasons didn't. A hamster owner, Zach's house burned down and his hamster escaped and blew away to China in a tin cup. He found every hamster in China and built up a giant boat of tin cups with their intelligence combined, and then they sailed across the Pacific Ocean and went into submarine mode and blew up a purple kraken trying to eat them with torpedoes after a very intense and scary fight. 99.9998% of the hamsters flew back into their Chinese homes, but the original one reunited with his owner, who was now living in a $100 billion house as a multi-trillionaire and owned the Chazcam No Hamster Co., the new biggest company which made and did everything all because his hamster was gone. Then they became friends with the scientist and his chihuahua. A little girl had no parents or friends and was bullied. She snuck in a carnival and took MANY balloons. She went into space, and right before she died she landed on an alien planet, whose only weakness was plastic. She popped the balloons and killed the aliens, grabbing a ray gun. She yeeted herself back to Earth and ripped apart the bullies' molecules. She then used a revive gun and a mind control gun to revive them and make them forever not bullies, and met the scientist, his chihuahua, Zach, and the hamster. Then they broke the fourth wall and did an eye trick on you. The eye trick just happened. A farmer loved KFC, so he made MFC, Massachusetts Fried Chicken, which was taken down for copyright. He got so mad and traveled to another dimension out of pure anger. He ended up in George's Marvelous Medicine, a book by Roald Dahl, and stole the medicine and made his chickens very big and rid two of them and ate all the other chickens. He then gave out some extra chicken to the scientist, his chihuahua, Zach, the hamster, and the little girl. Gerald the pug licked so many humans he exploded, and then from pure cuteness became alive again. Although he only had his face and bones and organs. He put a blanket over them as a disguise, because he was secretly evil. He then went on to destroy many villages, and licked 500,000 humans to death. He then cloned himself, but it went wrong, and he was in two bodies at the same time, one evil one a pug, and eventually, the nice one absorbed the mean one and restored every human and village using his powers, and gave many homeless people good things and homes. For his bravery, he was given a medal and met and became friends with the giant chicken farmer, the little girl, Zach, the hamster, the scientist, and his puppy chihuahua. These few were then found by the Legion, and they were combined into one being named Alvermentum, who joined the Legion. The Legion had grown with its new member, and gotten stronger. Meanwhile, his deodorant was busy destroying and absorbing multiverses when his two servants, the parents of Sir J, seemed to be useless to him, so he threw them across the multiverse. These two met up with Sir J, and while they had a lot to talk about, that would have to come later. For now these two joined the Legion in order to rebel against the pure evil, his deodorant. A man suddenly teleported them with a book that read, "Before I turned 100 years old I was living as a man in Boston, Massachusetts, USA. I was about 6'3". I was working as a very rich YouTuber. I traveled to every state in the USA and have been to Japan, France, Germany, and England. I had a net worth of $472,823 at the best ever, before I spent a ton of it. I had no children, but did have a wife. But now I spend most of my days sleeping and watching game shows. I am 5'7" now because of my age. I am totally deaf in my right ear, but I can still hear pretty well with my left ear, but still quite not perfect. I now have $5,000 because of my job that I retired from. I now also live in the same house that I had when I was younger. I also am a veteran from World War III. Dear Santa, I will be a good addition to your sleigh's reindeer team, because first I am very smart. That matters because I will be able to tell the directions of the houses. It also matters because I could memorize who is naughty and nice. Next, I am also pretty strong. That will help because I will be able to hold up the sleigh in the sky. I also will be able to carry gifts with my strength. The final reason is that I am extremely confident. That will help because I will keep on going and will not turn back. It will also help because I will not get scared of being high up in the sky. Those are the 3 reasons why I think you should let me in the team of your reindeer. Also, my name is Gorgie. I do not want it to rain meatballs, but I would want it to rain water, because if it rains something else and hit you it would hurt. This new writing is about my house. I really love my house because my house is long and short. It has a brownish tannish color. It is located on Turner Road. It has a very big backyard, and in the front yard is a tree that I hang from and climb up almost every day. In my house there is no basement, but there are stairs and a stick. Down the stairs is a room that my dad built. There is a long driveway that I drew video game characters and lots of other things on with chalk. In my house, there is a dining room that we only eat dinner and cereal in, and connected to the dining room is a sunroom that leads to the outside. Next to the dining room is a kitchen and the living room that I spend most of my time in, and in the corner is a huge leather recliner that my mom won at her work before she quit. To the west of the dining room, there is a long hallway that leads to the bedrooms and bathroom. There are 3 closets, one is like a pantry, another is for things like coats, and the final one is just a normal closet. In the downstairs is the previously mentioned room that my dad built, a place that's like a miniature house for my grandfather, a bathroom and a door to the backyard. I have one pet who is a dachshund dog named Frank, but I call him Frankers. Frank and my aunt live in the room that my dad built, and in that room is an absolute ton of movies and books, a small desk, an old TV, a bed, and my already said sausage of a dog, Fank. I play a lot outside, such as doing stuff in the tree that I climb up, or work on a hole that me and one of my friends, Jake, are digging for no reason. Also, my bedroom is on the end of the upstairs hallway. I have discovered something I fear may end mankind and the universe itself. In the popular children's show, Barney, the first episode holds a great secret. I was playing it for my grandson, when all of a sudden, the screen went black. I noticed that through the bottom of the television a fine purple paste began to pour out. It was followed with the smell of advanced decomposition. The television, without warning, exploded and took off 2 of my grandaunt's fingers. I called 911, but there was no answer. I looked back at my grandson and I screamed as I saw his body parts spread out across the room, with a purple haze all around. A gust of wind from the wall blew into the room and swept out the purple gas, revealing that my grandson was completely unharmed, with just a small burn mark. The purple paste then started growing limbs and teeth. I kicked it with all my force and it began to slither outside, until it grew into what looked like Barney the dinosaur, but melting and with red and black eyes and red teeth. It melted into the floor, and I never saw it again. I have been left wondering what happened that day, ever since. For pretty much no reason, this man was accepted into Legion. They then went to another universe, where they found nothing but an empty bed. In the empty bed they looked under it, and saw a trapdoor. They went under the trapdoor, and found the entire country of Chad and Tuvalu. They blew up everything, and saw one man standing in the wreckage, unharmed. They looked, and it was Chuck Norris. Chucky Boy over here decided to give them negative infinite % of his power. By giving him this amount of his power, their power was multiplied by 436,789 to the power of 67,892. They then created a clone of Chuck Norris, as he wished to stay behind. The clone was not nearly as powerful, but joined the Legion. With this newfound immense power, they were ready to take on his deodorant. The Legion split up into 4 quadrants, all looking for his deodorant. These 4 were respectively led by Mr. Justin, the Clownfish, Justin Bieber, and the Ultra Soldier. The leader of all of these was Sir J. The quadrant led by Mr. Justin started searching the multiverse. They looked in countless universes, finding nothing. They searched far and wide, until they found a universe with an infinite driveway. They saw nothing on this driveway, until they found a small green cardboard cut out the side. This figure was holding a caution, children at play sign in its hands. They investigated the figure further, before it leapt out and attacked them. It leapt at them, but it was incredibly weak, so the Chuck Norris clone roundhouse kicked him into Sir J's bag, which they had taken. With no luck, they returned to the base empty-handed, except for the figure. The Clownfish's quadrant found an interesting universe first, where Ivan the Terrible sat in a chair. They punched him in the face, but he had no reaction. 10 seconds later, he yelled and his face was pushed where they hit him. He must slow down the time in his body, and only his body. He stood up, and suddenly the whole crew got pushed and felt immense pain in their stomachs. Ivan then leapt out of his 10 seconds later and kicked the air where the quadrant members' stomachs were. The Clownfish asked Ivan if he wanted to join them. He looked at them for 10 seconds, with a blank stare, before nodding and leaving his chair and going with the quadrant to the base. Justin Bieber's quadrant then fell into a universe by accident, where there was a man who told them the story that he always loved retro games. I played tons of them when I was younger. But around 2018, I discovered Shovel Knight. I didn't own the game, but I found it on social media and really liked it. Despite this, I never bothered to actually get the game. But one day, I decided that I had had enough and looked for the game. I couldn't find it anywhere, but I eventually found it, but it looked sort of strange. The seller was anonymous, his username a sequence of seemingly random letters, IQJQD, and nothing in his profile. On top of this, the copy of the game didn't even have a cover. It was just the disc. But I wanted it so badly, I bought it. I knew what happened in the game, so I expected the main storyline to play out. Upon entering the game, the introduction cutscene was missing, immediately taking me into the first level, the Plains of Passage. Everything seemed fine, but some enemies wouldn't die and the game would occasionally freeze up. It was when I got to the second dragon mini-boss, things seemed very wrong. The floor was still there, but invisible. The bubbles that the dragon shot out were black spheres, with flashes of color. There was also no music or sound effects. I beat the dragon, who took about 20 hits to go down, and instead of the usual death animation, the dragon slowly shriveled down into the bottom of the screen, bleeding. Nothing came out of his body. This is when I first thought to myself, that the person who sold me this game must have done something to it. So then I quit and threw it away, finishing the story. He then told them that he also can bend each element, so he joined the Legion after introducing himself as Jaren Anethanen. The final quadrant, one of the Ultra soldiers was chilling in the middle of the multiverse, taking a break after not finding anything. Just then, a bus pulled up with 4 different Jimbo radicals inside of it, one wearing a suit, one in a hospital bed, one as a skeleton, and one who was immensely overweight. They explained that there was one Jimbo radical, the one in the suit. He didn't know if he should watch Total Drama Action, or he should watch Cocomelon. He cloned himself to watch Cocomelon, while he watched Total Drama Action. He is then forced down the Total Drama rabbit hole. He obsesses over Total Drama, and tells random TD facts to his friends. Jimbo realizes his friends don't like him anymore. He is really upset, a great going idiot, and now Jimbo has no friends. Jimbo wishes he had watched Cocomelon instead. But Jimbo has to decide to ditch Total Drama, to have friends, or to never have friends again. He decided to have friends, so he cloned himself and made the clone stay watching Total Drama. The main Jimbo has decided to never watch Total Drama again. He now has a life. He goes on to become a famous actor in Disney movies. He is now rich, because he ditched Total Drama, becoming the one in the suit. Great going, dude. The latest clone he made stays inside watching Total Drama for the rest of his life, only getting out of his bed to go to the bathroom and to buy more snacks. Jimbo becomes fat and stinky, because he is so big, becoming the immensely overweight one. Great going idiot. Now Jimbo is stinky. Meanwhile, the clone watching Cocomelon has nightmares of how creepy the characters are. He becomes so upset, he never watches TV or YouTube again. Great going idiots, now Jimbo lost something he loved. Jimbo wished he had watched Total Drama Action instead. After years of hiding in his safe bunker, he thinks if he should come out or stay inside. He clones himself, making the clone stay inside, while he comes out and turns off the TV. His eyes, unadjusted to light, burn. He screams in pain but opens them again, to the same result. After a few hours of this, his eyes finally adjust and breathes a sigh of relief. But, a Cocomelon meets his eyes on the outside. He then dies from a heart attack but is revived by the one in a suit, becoming the skeleton one. The final clone decides to stay inside his bunker. He grows insane over the next 30 years and results in drinking sewage and eating bugs. He is found by the police and thrown into a hospital. He awakes a few hours early. His family and friends all cheer that he is alive, and he becomes the hospital bed one. Every Jimbo is then combined into Jimbo Radicaler, who joins the Legion. They all return to Sir J, unsuccessful. Sir J gives them a pep talk, So they instantly find his deodorant in the next 0.00000222222222222222222222222222222 seconds. They all get ready to attack when they hear someone coughing. Then they see the beaten-up Mr. Rogers crawling to them. He escaped from the realm of his deodorant, and now seeks to join the Legion. He does, and they get ready to attack for real, when they hear someone coughing. The green guy from earlier had a change of heart, literally, as Mr. Bieber punched him so hard his heart inverted. He decides to join the Legion. He does, and they get ready to attack for this time really, when they hear someone coughing. Clippy, who had become a bodybuilder and a gym friend of the clownfish, had finally tracked them down. He asked to join the Legion, and he did. They get ready to attack for really real, truly I promise, when they hear someone coughing. The Fluffin' Puffin and his crew of Fluffin' Puffinaires had all combined and tracked the Legion down. They then wanted to join to help fight his deodorant. He then joined the Legion, as they really with a cherry on top and extra chocolate sprinkles with a caramel swirl got ready to attack, when they heard someone coughing. They look around and do not see anything, before they hear somebody exclaim that it was them, D.O. They then joined the Legion, and they got ultra super mega super duper very really got ready to attack, when they heard someone coughing. It was his deodorant. The fight had begun. His deodorant. The fight had begun then offered to join the Legion, and so they accepted his deodorant. The fight had begun into the Legion, and got to fight, so they finally opened the house door and started charging out, when they heard someone coughing. It was the Monopoly Man, who joined the Legion. Then they got super ultra to Ada when they heard someone coughing. It was just Justin Bieber, so they set off to the most important event of their life, when they heard someone coughing. It was the colorful cat eating cheese on concrete next to a cactus in Connecticut doing chemistry, which was a crazy catastrophe, who joined their team. Then oh yeah, he fought his deodorant. Just kidding, they actually battled him. They confronted him, before they realized that they grossly underestimated their opponent. With one swing of his tentacle, he wiped out the entire Legion. They thought that his deodorant was going to kill them all, putting a swift end to everything, but he had something else in mind. He trapped them in an obstacle course, and made it so their powers did not do anything here, although they still had them, they just couldn't use them in here. They all merged into Sir J++, which was now referred to as Unilegion, and started the obstacle course. They realized that his deodorant had twisted the world around them into a false stadium of sorts. As Unilegion stood at the starting line of the intense obstacle course, he took a deep breath, preparing himself mentally for the challenges ahead. The crowd, all parts of his deodorant around him, buzzed with anticipation, their excitement palpable in the air. With the sound of the starting horn, Unilegion launched into action. He sprinted towards the first obstacle, a towering wall of nets. With a burst of agility, he scaled the nets, hand over hand, muscles straining against the weight of his body. Without hesitation, he leaped from the top, landing on a narrow balance beam. Balancing precariously, Unilegion carefully navigated the beam, each step calculated and steady. He could feel the eyes of the crowd on him, their energy fueling his determination. As he reached the end of the beam, he faced a series of hanging ropes, swaying in the wind. Grabbing onto the ropes, Unilegion swung from one to another, his body twisting and turning in midair. With incredible strength and coordination, he maneuvered through the obstacle, avoiding the dangling objects below. His focus remained unwavering as he reached the other side, moving on to the next challenge. Now faced with a daunting series of monkey bars suspended over a pool of lava, Unilegion's grip tightened. He swung from bar to bar, his muscles screaming with exertion. The water splashed beneath him, teasing the possibility of a misstep. But Unilegion's determination was unyielding. He pushed through the fatigue, his body a testament to his unwavering dedication. Continuing on, Unilegion encountered a towering climbing wall. With calculated precision, he ascended its sheer surface, using every ounce of strength in his arms and legs. The cheers from the crowd grew louder as he conquered each level, inching closer to the top. At last, with one final surge of energy, Unilegion hoisted himself over the summit of the wall, a victorious smile on his face. The crowd erupted in applause, their admiration for his grit and perseverance evident. As Unilegion descended from the wall, his body covered in sweat and dirt, he raised his hands in triumph. The intense obstacle course had tested his limits, but he had emerged victorious. With a sense of accomplishment and a renewed spirit, Unilegion walked off the course, knowing he had conquered the challenge and inspired those around him with his unwavering determination. The doors swung open at Unilegion's victory, so he went through it, unable to realize that it was a trap. His deodorant took the form of the room around him, as every feature in his body produced an immense amount of heat, slowly melting away not only Unilegion, but all the consciousnesses inside. Right before all was lost, Unilegion disappeared. His deodorant took his regular sphere shape, and saw that Unilegion had been saved and regenerated by none other than Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris laughed, and used -99999999999 millillion, yes that is a number, % of his power to roundhouse kick his deodorant out of existence, or at least that is what Unilegion thought. Chuck Norris disappeared, and Unilegion split apart, thinking that his deodorant was gone for good. However, Chuck Norris intentionally only kicked his deodorant an immense distance across the entire Sophoverse. His deodorant was still alive, but far too far away to ever get close to the Legion. That is, unless a higher power interferes. The Legion, now separated, cheered at his deodorant seemingly getting wiped from existence. Now that he was gone, erased or not, his tyranny over 100,000 metaverses would now end, setting everybody free. The higher-ups of the Sophoverse, impressed by his victory, gave him a raise and published his victory in the Sophoversal newspaper. The Legion was treated like a hero, and now when it came to members, they had the exact opposite problem. Instead of needing more members, many people applied to the point where 99.9999% of them had to be rejected. They did, however, hire Omni Skrillex Bartholomew, the 498th. As his deodorant lay dazed and confused, but seeking vengeance from across the Sophoverse, the Legion was bored so they regenerated and entered the universe they had started from. They accidentally regenerated it halfway merged with another, and before they were separated an army of evil zombified Morgan Freemans that shot out pizza rolls invaded. The Legion separated the universe, but before they were able to absorb the Morgan Freemans, the higher-ups of everything took all their powers for testing purposes. What a coincidence. Maybe? I dunno, but anyways they now had to take on the army themselves because the Morgan Freemans' camouflage made them invisible to everyone but the Legion and hermit crabs. The Legion attacked, keeping a smaller group of Sir J, Mr. Justin, the clownfish, and Sir J's parents to strategize, sending everyone else out to fight. However, they were overpowered by Morgan Freeman's voice, sending out shockwaves that knocked them all out and back to the strategizing group. The strategizing group met the same fate, except for Sir J. The Morgan Freemans told Sir J they would leave if Sir J could give them a report on why school is bad, so he did. It said that so after I have gone through the absolutely terrorizing and intimidating sized prison that serves food that tastes like the dirt on the surface of our planet we call school, not including preschool. I very much would like to protest against school. There should be a 4-day school weekend. Because first of all most students really just hate school. Second of all a ton of stuff you quote-unquote learn in school is just a humongous waste so you will never learn that much. Third, it can get in the way of your daily plans completely and you can't do a lot. Next of all in this protest homework will be included and will also be banned because there is an absolute ton of stuff you have to do and if you forget you will be sorry. Also with large amounts of younger people in a compact area, it could become dangerous. Also speaking of danger since the children's parents won't be there so that means anybody or anything could do something to them and their parents would only just find out about the incident when it was much too late. Then there is the factor of kids being left out and becoming depressed. But then don't even talk about getting awake much too early and not getting a lot of the various refreshing and positive effects that you get from falling asleep being stripped away from you. Then the most extremely obvious reason most pupils in the world find school very boring, and because of that particular reason most students absolutely despise and hate, including me. Schools can also spread viruses, sickness, and also diseases. For example, if someone got sick right in the middle of school, even if they extremely highly likely go to the nurse on the walk there, they could sneeze or cough on somebody, or they accidentally or even purposely touch something another person owns that could spread it even more. Another thing that can make someone sad is going back to school after a day or more of an amazing vacation, because it feels like the freedom that you had for that very short time has disappeared. Students can also learn bad things too, such as swearing from the other students. Then the absolutely incredible and amazing factor of you would have more time to do well, just stuff. Also, you spend 15% of your entire life at school. You also would not have to stress over all that school work and also homework that you remember right as the teacher wants you to hand them in. Also, it could be a win-win because the many teachers that actually put you through these incredibly, super boring lessons and papers could get a job with a lot less stress. Then the 1,000 tests you have to do, you will not have to do another, at least in school again, in your entire life. Also, a lot of the time the punishments are far too big for far too little. Like if on the bus one kid screams, the whole bus gets talked to in a bad way from the principal. True story. Also, if you do the math, school ends up wasting 11.613 years, or 14.7% of your life. So those are all of my great reasons why school and homework should permanently be banned completely. Because no more tests, the teachers could get better jobs, no stressing over school and homework, you would be able to do many more things than normal. Other students can teach you bad things, getting depressed, spreading illnesses, it's super boring, missing out on sleep, it can become dangerous, your daily plans get ruined, homework has a ton of stuff, and finally 98% of what you learn is a huge waste. If you do the math, 14.7% of your life will be wasted by school. The Morgan Freeman zombies were actually joking about the report, but the pure awesomeness of the report actually caused them all to explode, and a shockwave of kittens reverted all of the damage they caused. Mr. Justin then confessed that he had always wanted a really big house, so he gave the Legion a paper which read, "My dream house has 50 floors, is a castle and has an elevator. All the first and second floor is security. The third floor is just a huge swimming pool, plus a hot tub, and the fourth floor is a theme park, and guess what? The dining room and kitchen are connected on the 6th floor. The 5th floor is literally a robot station. On the 7th floor is a gaming room and a movie theater. The 8th floor is a room dedicated to geography and history, and the 9th floor is a zoo. And the 10th floor is a museum. But the 11th floor is just a bathroom. Also on the 12th floor is a sortable gallery, on the 13th floor, there is a living room and an indoor water park. If you type in the secret code in the elevator, which is 72,481, it takes you to an underground tunnel system / dungeon. The 14th floor is just a bedroom, but the 15th floor is a room for all my pets. On the 16th, 17th, and 18th floor are even more security, and a vault that stores 1 quintillion aka a quadrillion dollars. Even on the 19th floor is a hair salon and a boiler room that leads up to the 20th floor, which is an exact, I mind you, working replica of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. But I am not done because the 21st floor is a treehouse. But on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th floor is a hotel. But not only that, the 26th floor is an airport, but just in case the 27th floor is an above-ground bunker, and speaking of staying in a closed space, the 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st floor is a prison. The 32nd floor is a bunch of cannons with unlimited ammo of everything you fire, and the 33rd floor is a maze. But guess what, the 34th floor is an astronomy dome. But guess what, the 35th floor is a grocery store and partially related to a grocery store. The 36th floor has a lot of cleaning supplies, and the 37th and 38th floors are an arcade and pizzeria. A room for partying is on the 39th floor, rooms for special guests are on the 40th, 41st, 42nd, 43rd, and 44th floors. But the 45th floor shoots out rocket ships and the 46th floor is a ritual for spells. The 47th floor is a wardrobe that has a lot of different costumes for me to wear and the 46th floor is a humongous garden. The 47th floor is a karate, taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, muay thai, and MMA dojo. To go along with the previous one, the 48th floor is a gym. The 49th floor is made entirely of cheese. And finally, the 50th floor is my throne room, which I can control the entire building and around it with. Just as they finished reading, the higher-ups of the Sophovers gave them their powers back, so they built Mr. Justin's house as a section on their own multiversal house, as well as taking the universe they were just into their house, where they created a hall that led directly to that universe. On a trip to this universe, they met someone who wanted to join. They asked her why, and she said her life story: I am Queen Jennifer, the third of the Kingdom of Ihenson. Recently my kingdom has been attacked by the Kingdom of Murmisk, but we won the war and it was hard. Now my kingdom is not doing the best, because first of all, my husband Ned died in the war and now I have no help ruling the kingdom, because Ned was king. Now my goal is to reincarnate King Ned the 17th. In secret I am a scientist, so I will go behind my throne and unlock the secret trapdoor to my lab. Well, I am here now, and I forgot one of my experiments is still running, so let me go turn it off. It just exploded. Well, that shows you how bad my henchmen and slaves are. Oh, did I just say henchmen and slaves? What I meant to say was, Sever vents, yeah. Sarah vents totally well now, I should get working. I made up a potion to bring him back, but I need to get the ingredients. Wait. I am having a flashback. My greatest incident was when I was a few months old and my entire family died in a fire that burned down all of the orphanages that are in Ihenson. I was homeless when I was 3 months old. For about 3 seconds when an explosion happened, which when it blew up landed me in a jail/prison, and for the next 20 years all of my life I lived all alone and sad in a prison, and that prison was Alcatraz prison. Then Alcatraz closed down and I was then homeless again, but then Ned became king, fell in love with me and married me, and now I live in this castle and I have for 3 years. But this man was Ned the 16th, who was 80 years old, and 1 month after we married and his adult child, Ned the 17th became king and married me. That was weird having a flashback, but I need to get back to work. Anyways, the ingredients are snow from the South Pole, lava from an active volcano, water from the bottom of the Mariana Trench, burn marks from lightning and wind from a tornado. First the snow, and lucky for me I own 10 parkas and a private jet. I am the South Pole, and I gathered SNS snow in /-- AA bottle, and I am about to get on my private JEJJ / JE jet. I am back and lying on top of the boiler. Now the lava. I am now in Indonesia, and at the Krakatoa volcano that is here, and I am a scientist secretly, so I have a potion this puppy erupt. Good golly gosh, the heat. I got it just in time, and now I want to be in the South Pole again, but next up, the water. I am dressed in my scuba diving suit on the island of Guam. I swam out to where the Mariana Trench is located. Okay, so as you probably know, the Mariana Trench is very deep, so I used my super advanced technology to go to the bottom by teleportation. Good news, I have the water. Bad news, the deepest point which water can go through, but not me. So basically after this air tube runs out of air, I will painfully slowly drown to death. I have one idea left. I will be pushing the water towards the small hole and the water pressure will break. It's broken, and I called in a super advanced submarine to save me. I am back in my castle. Next up, the lightning burn marks. I made this 10 feet tall metal pole with a crash test dummy on the tippy top. The crash test dummy fell down, so I have cut out a burn mark. Now finally, wind from a tornado. I have made a summer home in the state of Oklahoma, which has an absolute ton of tornadoes every year. Now we play the long game of the waiting game. Ugh, it's been like 2 months, and now finally, there is a tornado. Well, I am now on top of a 33-foot tall thing of spinning air and a bottle of some of it just flew me back to the lab with the bottle. Now I will put them into the mixer machine 3000. They're mixed and I am pouring it on Ned's corpse, which is pretty dark, but still. Wait, he is back to life, yay, now finally I am happy. They let her in, as she recommended that they go to another universe. They did, and for some reason it said written by Thomas Morrison on the wall of the universe. They were not sure why, but here one day there was a Koopa king named Bowser and he had a friend who had a cousin who had a brother whose father was Sans. That friend was Luigi, but now, we are getting off track. Anyway, Sans and Bowser were best friends and they both really liked memes. Hi, I'm Sans' brother Papyrus and I'm Bowser's kid Bowser Jr., and this is the story of Bowser's and Sans' /meme party. Hope you enjoy. Warning: this story has a lot of memes, so if you don't like memes then get out of here. If you are still reading then let's go. Bowser and Sans love dabbing because it is a meme. I'll bet you $100,000 that one of them is dabbing right now, said Papyrus. Hey Dad, said Bowser Jr. Yes Junior, said Bowser. Are you and Mr. Sans dabbing? Said Bowser Jr. Yes, why did you ask? Said Bowser. No reason, said Bowser Jr. Dabbing should be a sport, everyone likes it, Sue, it should be a sport. I don't have that much for this chapter, Sue, I think we could go to chapter 3, let's go. Edit: sorry that this chapter is short, we will make it up for you in the next chapter. Bye bye. With a title like this you would think that we are talking about memes. Well, you would be absolutely correct. Memes are cool. Bowser thinks it should be a sport. Does your dad think everything should be a sport? Yes and no. My dad really think everything should be a sport, but not literally, like he does not think lemonade orange should be a sport. Okay. Anyway, they really like memes. Meme are really cool to begin with. So yeah, next chapter. Let's go. Egad is evil, 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 Egad is evil. Calm down, Papyrus, he is just in another castle. Ha 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 ha. Nice Mario joke, Jr. Thanks, Papyrus. Bowser and Sans like Mario 64 because they like super famous stuff and Mario 64 is super famous. Prepare for bad time, bad time, bad time. Screams next chapter now. Guys, this might be the last thing I write. Bowser Jr. is writing his will right now. So I should probably explain. So while we were writing chapter 5, two things happened. First, Corona, and the second thing is that Sans tripped over my copying machine I invented. Meaning that he copied himself. He copied himself 3 times. Then they walked to a bunch of toxic waste. So they basically turned into zombies. Wait, Bowser Jr., you can breathe fire. So? You can put the Sans on fire. Oh yeah. So that ends the Sans invasion chapter. This was a surprise chapter, Sue. Yeah, next chapter 1, guess. So after the last chapter, it took a long time for Bowser Jr. to stop being frozen from shock. He was in shock, because the Sans turned into a bunch of goop. It looked scary. So yeah, Flowey stinks, creepy, terrible obstacles for humans. Bowser Jr., you better yet? Achoo. Okay, just keep drinking your hot cocoa made by my friend Coco, and don't take off your blankets, I'm going to the next chapter, okay? Sneeze once yes, sneeze twice for no, achoo achoo. Okay, I guess we're going to the next chapter. New. So memes part 2. You didn't think this would happen because memes part 1 was super short. The meme of the day is the new movie Boo, coming out in July 2020. The runner-up of the meme of the day is Yoshi is not paying his taxes. I got nothing for this chapter, so let's just go to chapter 10. After Bowser's and Sans meme party, they noticed Flowey, who pretended to be a crying child. Bowser Jr. and Papyrus tried to comfort him, but he revealed he was Flowey and stole their souls. With the small power from those he took from those souls, he got more monster souls. Eventually, he got a human soul, but Sans and Bowser noticed him, so they battled him. Flowey Toy Dally wrecked them, so they died. Or so Flowey thought. They got back up and broke Flowey's petals off, which made Flowey mad. Flowey then took their souls, but didn't manage to kill them, so they ran away. Bowser came back with a Toad, Luigi, and Peach, and Sans came back with Undine, Ascari, and Toriel. They all battled and battled until Flowey killed Ascari again, and Peach and absorbed all of their souls, turning into Asriel. Even though it seemed like they would die, they kept trying, but then Papyrus had an idea. He summoned Chara, which made Asriel stop, and then they snuck up and totally wrecked him. They healed and revived everyone, but everyone broke 48 of their bones. Which hurt. Flowey confesses what he did, but they don't care and kick him. But he bites Ascari's pinky toes off, and then he confesses that he has a crush on Peach, so she kicks him into China. They are so happy they party with fruit punch and posters, Frank the dog, and then Papyrus thinks of something. Papyrus tells Bowser Jr., Bowser, and Sans that they should all make another meme party, and they agree. Me, Sans, and Bowser wanted to do this meme party, because we only got one chapter in Bowser's /Sans's /meme party, and that was honestly depressing for us. Anyway, this book is going to be weird. Hey, Papyrus writing here. I just wanted to say that this book will be chocked full of weird stuff and a lot of memes, so yeah, now I'm going back to find things to make a time machine, and run away from Bowser because Sans will not like that I put this part in. Oh God help me. Sad face. Moo. Right then and there Bowser Jr. turned into a cow. They milked him, somehow, 'cause you can only milk female cows, and he woke up and thanked the hair on Wendy's head. It was just a dream. The cliff Papyrus was on broke, so he fell, but he was playing Minecraft, so by landing in a few inches of water even from the 500-foot drop, he survived. But it was lava, so he died and rage quit, only to burn down his own house, making him rage quit his home, so he became homeless and drop kicked himself. Bowser Jr. got mad at Rosalina 'cause he hates her or something and he froze her, and Papyrus yeeted her into Bikini Bottom, where they hunted her, and she was put in jail inside of SpongeBob's house, who constantly told her knock-knock jokes. Papyrus flies to England and takes out the sword in the stone. He becomes king and moves all of London underground. Bowser Jr. hurt himself and he cried. Papyrus was mind-controlled and said, "Get over it, lol," so Bowser Jr. beat him up, causing him to also get hurt, and they screamed so loud the mind controller exploded painfully. Is what the grass said. Mr. Rogers then combined everything from that immensely strange universe after leaving. The combination then named itself FFFFFFFHJFGJKASDFGHJK, / and joined the Legion, despite nobody wanting it to. The Legion decided to have a movie night, so they got pizza and watched the B-movie 4 times. They then played a bunch of card and board games, which everybody was beaten at except for the clone of Chuck Norris, who for some reason dominated nearly every single time. Jeremy the Black Square then appeared, and of course everybody cheered, and he was let into the Legion. When the Legion was on a group walk, the multiverse suddenly grew red. A universe suddenly formed, and afterwards the red stopped. They then went inside of the universe, where they found nothing but an empty futuristic arena in the void. They walked to the center, where it said from Darpamorel. They stepped on the center, and a massive stone pillar with engravings arose from the center. One on side, it was engraved that a threat was coming, so to help them an eldritch entity known as Darpamorel had given them this warning. It then showed a cave painting like the drawing of Darpamorel. On the other side of the pillar, it was engraved that the prophecy is the one thing that could unleash enough power to destroy almost any foe. Many things are linked to the prophecy. Below this, it said that the things linked to the prophecy are a random math teacher, Eggman, Mr. McAndrew the math coach, the number 42, I'm gonna come to your house, slice you in half, eat your mom, kick your dad in the face, and throw your pets out the window. Barney, we don't talk about Andy, the hand sanitizers, stranger danger, shoelaces, Albert the plant, Gerald the gnome, the relationship between Kirsten and Kristen, Glass Joe, Lightning from Total Drama, Caden Aiello, Cars 3, Tomatoes, the original Super Mario Bros. Game, the song Baby by Justin Bieber, the special pencil, Christopher Walken's left ear, the Wanda break from the Ads ad, and the musical power of Friendship Sword. Deciding to trust this mysterious warning, they go after everything listed. They go to the local middle school in their universe, but remember that the teacher was a substitute. To get around this issue, they take 4 of the teachers and ship them in a box into the center of the Pacific Ocean with no raft, food, or water. Don't worry, they have life jackets. The next day is Saturday, so they wait until Monday. On Monday, one of the substitute teachers is the random math teacher they need, Mr. Gerlangadinono, so they lure him with Scooby snacks into a van, where they take him to the empty stadium and leave him there. Their next target was Eggman, so they ventured to a universe which was a near-identical copy of Sonic the Hedgehog, and went to Eggman. Eggman used his technology to summon a chicken cheese quesadilla, who attacked the Legion. The Legion was wondering how this attack would work, as they could just eat it. But, the Legion started fighting over the quesadilla, and who could eat what parts of it, causing disarray in the group. Using this to his advantage, Eggman escaped, but slipped on a banana peel, knocking him unconscious. The group then took him to the stadium, after agreeing to give the quesadilla to the Monopoly man. Next up was Mr. McAndrew, the math coach. To achieve this, they went to some random elementary school in Italy and started teaching kids division, but very incorrectly. This disturbance in the math learning spacetime continuum summoned the man that they were looking for. After he taught the kids division correctly, the Legion took him back to the stadium, with Eggman wand Mr. Gerlangadinono, who might get along with him. Next on the agenda was the number 42, so they went to a universe like ours but in the year 2000, where they tracked down Douglas Adams and forced him to give them the original Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He did, and in this, they took out all the pages about 42 and taped them together. They returned to their house, where they put the pages in a futuristic machine that condensed the pages into their ultimate form, 42. They then took the very concept of 42 and yeeted it all the way back to the stadium, where it hit Eggman, who had just regained consciousness in the head, knocking him out once more. Next was one that they were not sure about. I'm gonna come to your house, slice you in half, eat your mom, kick your dad in the face, and throw your pets out the window. They decided to search it up in the higher-ups of everything's ultra-computer, where they found out where to find it. They went into a universe, and after falling down a 123,456,789 foot-deep hole made of cotton candy and children's dreams, they found it, and took it back to the stadium. Next was Barney, so they went to the Barneyverse to find him. Being the Barneyverse, they had to fight swarms of locusts like Barney demons, before going through what could only be described as Barney's version of Dante's Inferno. After finally reaching the end, they found the true Barney. They fought this opponent, who was surprisingly powerful. After a hard battle, they kicked him so hard that he landed on the stadium, on Eggman, who was just about to regain consciousness, but not anymore. Next up was We Don't Talk About Andy, which was a song from a universe that they had known for the people in it, the E-Club. They went to this universe where they forced the E-Club members to give them the copyrights to the hit single, and took the original recording. They then put this back in the stadium, where they put it in a jukebox to give the guys there some entertainment. Except Eggman, who was still out cold. Next was the hand sanitizers, a group of hand sanitizers from Junior Mister's 5th grade science class. They sent him off to school, and he picked up the hand sanitizers. The bank alarm under them went off, causing the police to flood into the room and take him to maximum security prison without a trial. Like father, like son. He then put some sanitizer in their eyes, allowing him to easily escape, absorbing the criminals in the prison too. They then put the sanitizers in the arena. Now it was time for Stringer Danger. They kidnapped some random homeless dude and a little girl, and then mind-controlled the guy to ask her if she wanted candy. They then condensed this room at that exact moment of time into a small cube, and took out the physical Stringer Danger. They then threw it onto the stadium, where it hit the just about to awaken Eggman in the mouth, causing him to choke, making him pass out. They then needed shoelaces, but not just any. They needed to combine at least 500,000 shoelaces into one. They started as shoelaces for the poor charity, and over time it grew and grew before getting all the shoelaces they needed. What they did not predict, however, was that their employees actually gave the shoelaces to the poor. They then went to the group that the shoelaces were connected to, and stole them right from the excited people's hands, crushing their lives forever. In return, but mostly to stop the crying, they then gave them 14/97 of a popsicle to share amongst themselves. This solved the issue, and they combined all the shoelaces, and threw the mega shoelace to the stadium. Next would be Albert the plant. They went to the universe he was located in, and took him back to the stadium. As it turns out, Albert actually slipped out of their hands and was now roaming the multiverse. They went to him, and he started to hypnotize them with his leaves. He then transformed into his Mecha Albert form, and stomped on the Legion, his huge amount of power severely injuring all of them. They put up a fight, and stole all his power before preparing to throw him to the stadium, when FFFFFFHJFGJKASDFGHJK came in with a new report, that Albert knew where the next thing they needed was. They then punched him until he gave them the coordinates where the next thing they needed was. After this, they threw him in the stadium. Albert told them the coordinates to his friend in another place, Gerald the gnome aka El Geraldo. He was out engaging in activities that were not murder, so they went to him. The surprise caused his beard hair to whip them into the higher-ups' place and back. They then used the gnome sucker 84,000 to get Gerald and threw him to the stadium. The relationship between Kirsten and Kristen was next, so they kidnapped Kirsten and Kristen and put them in a room where time went faster. After 5 seconds, or the equivalent of 8 years for the two Kristen and Kirsten, they freed them. They then extracted all memories of each other from Kristen and Kirsten's brains, and gave them a physical form. They then threw this to the stadium. Now, they would have to obtain Glass Joe, so they went to the Punch-Out universe, and by breathing in his general vicinity he collapsed. He was then thrown up, but they missed the stadium. He flew back down, and ricocheted off of the members, knocking them all out. He laughed victoriously, before a slight breeze blew him off a cliff, into a volcano that erupted, in the core of the sun, a black hole, out a white hole, in the multiverse, and finally into the stadium right when the Legion began to regain consciousness. They then checked and saw him in the stadium. They now needed lightning from Total Drama, so they went to that universe and caused a thunderstorm and caught a lightning bolt in a jar. They brought this to the stadium, but a voice came out from the pillar and said that it was incorrect. Confused, they went back and realized that they needed a person named Lightning. They found him, knocked him out, and threw him to the stadium, where out of rage, he beat up Eggman who was just starting to regain consciousness, making him fall unconscious once more. Next was Caden Aiello, so they dyed a cat green and started making it dance, which would summon him. After 14 hours, he showed up, but then Ivan the Terrible was kidnapped by an anthropomorphic banjo playing banjo. Using Caden, they threw him at the banjo, which made him fall downstairs. The banjo got up and used its last trick, where newborn chickens started to plummet from the sky. They kicked the banjo and Caden into the sky, which cleared the skies, disintegrated the banjo, and landed Caden in the stadium. Cars 3 was next up, so they went to the HQ of Pixar and stole everything Cars 3 related. They realized that it was not enough, so they sucked up everything related to Cars 3 in the entire world. Still not enough, they went to the Cars universe and absorbed it. They repeated this process in over 50 other universes, and then combined everything into Cars 3. They then threw this back into the stadium. Tomatoes are what they need now, and a lot of them. They spent hours using all their powers to collect tomatoes from every multiverse in sight, before then starting an extremely powerful farm, using the energy of 600,000 multiverses. They used the energy from the tomatoes it produced to collect more multiverses, until they had a farm powered by 700 novemseptuagentillion multiverses. They used all of the tomatoes produced in 1 second, still an incomprehensibly large number, to combine into one super tomato, and after leaving this running for 17 hours they had 61,201 super tomatoes. They threw all the tomatoes to the stadium, before taking the farm back to their house. It can also be used for a lot more things than just making tomatoes. The original Super Mario Bros. Game was next, so they traveled to an identical copy of our universe but in the early 1980s, where they cut out Miyamoto's brain, and put it in a glass. There was a special fluid in this glass, where it sucked out everything in his brain about Mario. They then robbed him of the first copy, and put it with the Mario idea juices. They blended this together, and added the universe of the original Mario Brothers. They then threw this mixture to the stadium. Eggman was just about to be conscious again, but as it would turn out he is highly allergic to Miyamoto brain juices, so he was knocked out once more. The next thing to obtain was the special pencil. They went to the universe it was located in, but its specialty caused a shockwave that sent them flying into a rice farm in Oceania. They then decided to create an identical clone instead, so they called upon Jeremy, who was a master of cloning. He could create clones that are identical, or make clones without consciousnesses that can all be controlled by his consciousness. Using his mad skills, they created an exact replica of the special pencil. It was then stolen, so they took the thief and put him in another room where time works differently, and he can't die. They then waited a second, causing him to live in an empty room barely big enough to fit him while sitting down with nothing for over 700 years. They freed him, but he was very frail, so they looked at him the wrong way, and he was cremated. They then took the special pencil back to the stadium. Up next was Christopher Walken's left ear. They went to Christopher Walken, and attempted to cut off his left ear. They accidentally cut off the right, so they began to cut off the left. However, his left ear athletic training made it harder than any substance known to man, so they had issues. To solve this, they resurrected Van Gogh, the expert ear cutter, to lead him towards Lil Chris. The battle between Van Gogh's little remains and Christopher Walken's left ear shook the earth, but eventually Van Gogh won. He gave them the left ear, which was sent back to the stadium, and both of them were added to the coffee mug from earlier. The penultimate challenge in this adventure was to obtain the one break from the ad's ad, or WFTA for short. They transformed their consciousnesses into digital forms, and entered Spotify. They waited for the WFTA, and when it came up they glitched the screen to freeze it. They entered their physical bodies, and stole the copyright to the ad. They then took the copyright, uploaded it onto another tab on the device with WFTA. They then throw this onto the stadium. Finally, it was time for the final thing linked to the prophecy. The musical power of Friendship Sword. They found out, using the higher-ups technology, that it was in a powerful temple-like universe where it blocked their powers. They entered this universe, and in a world shrouded in mystery and legends, the Legion embarked on a perilous quest to explore an ancient, long-forgotten temple, rumored to be filled with deadly traps and enigmatic puzzles. As the group approached the temple's towering entrance, adorned with intricate carvings and symbols, a sense of awe and trepidation washed over them. Led by their fearless leader, Sir Jamacian Tide Pod, the Legion cautiously stepped into the dark corridors of the temple, their torches casting flickering shadows on the walls. The first trap they encountered was a pressure-sensitive floor, embedded with ancient glyphs. The group's keen eyes and sharp instincts allowed them to navigate through the maze-like corridor, avoiding the tiles that triggered dart traps and hidden pitfalls. With each step, their confidence grew, and their determination to uncover the temple's secrets deepened. They soon reached a massive chamber filled with suspended blades swinging to and fro. With synchronized precision and acrobatic agility, the Legion members carefully timed their movements, ducking, leaping, and rolling beneath the deadly pendulums. It was a display of trust, as they relied on each other's guidance and support to reach the other side unscathed. Venturing further, they encountered a chamber filled with a swirling mist that obscured the path ahead. Determined not to be deterred, the Legion utilized their resourcefulness, tying ropes to each other for guidance and protection. They slowly advanced, feeling their way through the dense mist until they emerged into an open courtyard bathed in sunlight. In the heart of the temple, they discovered a colossal statue, guarding a hidden chamber. The statue was adorned with intricate details and glowing gemstones, emanating an aura of power. Solving a series of riddles and deciphering ancient inscriptions, the Legion unlocked the entrance to the hidden chamber, their excitement mounting. Inside, they discovered crumbling walls adorned with faded hieroglyphics. A pressure plate triggered a mechanism, causing the floor to collapse into a pit of sharpened spikes. The Legion members, ever vigilant, skillfully navigate their way across the unstable ground, using their knowledge and experience to identify safe paths. As they ventured deeper into the temple, the challenges intensified. An intricate maze of shifting walls tested their spatial awareness and problem-solving skills. Each member carefully mapped the patterns, guiding their companions through the complex labyrinth. The next obstacle was a hall of suspended blades, swinging ominously from the ceiling. The Legion had to time their movements precisely, evading the deadly pendulums with swift reflexes and calculated steps. The tension rose with each narrow escape, but their unwavering focus kept them one step ahead of the traps. Further into the temple, they encountered a chamber filled with hidden pressure plates. Each step had to be deliberate and precise, as a misplaced foot could trigger cascading boulders or release a torrent of darts. The Legion members coordinated their movements, relying on trust and communication to traverse the treacherous path. Finally, after facing countless trials, they reached the inner sanctum of the temple. A massive, ancient door stood before them, adorned with intricate carvings. The Legion deciphered the riddles inscribed on the door, revealing the sequence required to unlock it. With a collective effort, they turned the ancient key, and the door creaked open. In the final test, they were scanned. It was decided that they were true friends that had the power of music, revealing the fabled Tupoffs, which they returned to the stadium. Upon returning to the stadium, the pillar shrunk into the floor as the whole universe collapsed in on itself, Legion included. They then heard a voice telling them that the danger that the prophecy warned of was here, but the prophecy had been successful, and given them the power needed. They regained their vision, all combined as Legion, seeing the behemoth, his deodorant, standing in front of them. The Higher was notified of this danger, who had apparently partnered with an unknown entity known as Lanreet to gain power stronger than the Higher's. The Higher combined with Legion, absorbing as many universes' powers as they could, as they readied themselves. His deodorant shrieked, and the battle began. In the vast expanse of the multiverse, where dimensions intertwined and realities collided, two ancient and powerful eldritch gods emerged from the depths of cosmic chaos. They were his deodorant, the embodiment of primordial darkness, and Legion, the embodiment of infinite light. As their colossal forms clashed, the fabric of existence trembled, and celestial energies surged around them. His deodorant wielded the forces of entropy and oblivion, seeking to plunge all creation into eternal darkness. Legion, on the other hand, harnessed the energies of creation and order, striving to maintain harmony and balance across the multiverse. Their battle raged across countless realms, ripping through celestial planes and shattering dimensions. Omniverse exploded, and parts of the Sophoverse collapsed in the wake of their cataclysmic clash. The very essence of reality strained under their immense powers, threatening to unravel the tapestry of existence itself. With every strike, his deodorant unleashed torrents of darkness, engulfing entire parts of the Sophoverse and extinguishing the light of countless worlds. But Legion, a beacon of resplendent radiance, fought back with beams of pure luminosity, pushing back the encroaching shadows and reigniting hope in the hearts of beings across the cosmos. Their battle escalated to unimaginable heights, with cosmic storms swirling around them and celestial bodies converging in a symphony of destruction. Both gods were locked in a timeless struggle, each refusing to yield, knowing that the fate of the Sophoverse hung in the balance. As months passed, and the clash reached its climax, the very concept of time distorted and fractured. His deodorant and Legion unleashed their ultimate forms, transcending the limitations of mortal comprehension. His deodorant became a swirling vortex of pure darkness, while Legion radiated with blinding brilliance. In a final cataclysmic clash, their energies collided, creating an explosion that echoed throughout the entirety of the Sophoverse. The shockwave rippled across dimensions, tearing through realities and shattering areas of the Sophoverse. The multiverse itself trembled, as if holding its breath, awaiting the outcome of this cosmic struggle. Then, in a blinding flash of light, darkness and light merged into a swirling maelstrom of opposing forces. His deodorant and Legion became one, their essences merging, creating a new entity, a being of balance and harmony. The deity, bearing the essence of all beings involved, restored equilibrium to the Sophoverse. Light and darkness, good and evil, truth and lies, beginnings and ends, found equilibrium, and order was restored. With their cosmic battle concluded, restored, all damage caused ever since one of its consciousnesses, Sir J, went on that trip to India. Memories were kept the same, as the higher-ups of the Sophoverse absorbed their headquarters into this being, so that they could continue to manage the Sophoverse. Chuck Norris finally agreed to become a part of this new hive mind. They looked into the Lanreet figure who had given his deodorant the immense power to reach them after Chuck kicked him, but all they could find out was that in some way he knew the mysterious Darkmoral figure who had given them the prophecy. They seemed to be enemies, perhaps as a strange parallel to the Legion and his deodorant. It was also found out that if not for the prophecy, Uni-Legion would have been instantly absorbed by his deodorant, who could then aid Lanreet in casting the Sophoverse to total destruction. His deodorant was technically still alive in the new hive mind, albeit at a state where he could never affect the universe again. They went back to their multiversal house, and greatly improved upon it. They decided to settle down by moving their house to a place that the higher suggested, a universe known as the Summoning Game. As it would turn out, this was the same universe with Jonald and Australian Batman, Sir J++ visited earlier. They were sure that it was fine, and on the inside of the hive mind it was like its own universe where all the different consciousnesses could interact and control. As the only proper way to end this chapter of their lives, they played corny clean music from the 90s, and threw a dance party.